Hey, what's up, guys? I'm going to try something different with this troubleshooting video. I wanted to try to do a little self-narrating instead of just blasting some random song in your ear during my configuration of devices. So, here we go. In this video, I just wanted to cover a real basic EIGRP troubleshooting. And I guess you can also include EIGRP configuration in that, because I'm going to set one router up in front of you, and then I'll pause the video and do the rest behind the scenes so we don't have to watch 4 times the same thing. But let's give the topology a brief overview before we get started with the configuration. So we've got 4 routers, total of 5 subnets, one here, and then 4 LAN subnets. These are just switches with nothing on them. So we've got the 1.11, 1.33, 1.22, 1.44, and the 10.1.1, all 24-bit subnets. So let's get started. And we're on router 2. Let's go ahead and configure that one. So let's get into global config mode. And we'll go ahead and hop on one of the interfaces. Configure the IP address for the, I'll just go ahead and call these internal interfaces. 10.1.1.2, 24-bit mask, do a no shutty. And let's hop over to the LAN interface. That will be, what's the IP here? 10.1.22.2. And do a no shutty. And let's see. Let's go ahead and configure EIGRP on these. Very simple. It's very similar to OSPF. So you want to go global config, router, EIGRP, and then an autonomous system number. Autonomous system number needs to match on all the routers that you're configuring that you would possibly want to become EIGRP neighbors. You're going to have to use the same autonomous system number. So, router EIGRP autonomous system 1. We'll just use 1. Let's go ahead and define the networks. Cisco's recommendation is not to be lazy, and you want to define each each interface that you're going to use the EIGRP on. You want to define that specifically under each network command, or I should say with a separate network command. So we'll do so. Network 10.1.1.2 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.0 will give us only that one interface defined. So if we added another interface later that was in the same subnet, or that'll be a whole different video, but if you get lazy, it can cause a lot of trouble. Okay, now we're just defining the other one. Too bad I need to use the network command first. 10.1.22.2 0.0.0.0. And we see that it did form an adjacency because I've already done router 1 before I started the recording. But I'll go ahead and do routers 3 and 4, and then I will come back and continue on. Okay, and we're back. I've configured the other routers, so being that this is a troubleshooting video that I kind of came up with myself, this might be a little bit funky, but you know what? This is a basic troubleshooting video, and it's my first crack at it, so here goes. So let's just think about this for a second. We've got 4 routers all using EIGRP, and they all have one interface that's on the same subnet. So if everything were, and this is a really good first step in a troubleshooting process of a network a network problem, you first want to think about how things should function if there were no problems. So if everything was functioning correctly, and we did one of these commands, show, I'm on router 1, IP EIGRP neighbors. If this was all set up correctly, we should see that router 2, 3, and 4 would all be in our neighbors list. Let's see what we do get. So, looks like we have only 2 neighbors, and one of them is 1.1.1.3. I'm sorry, 10.1.1.3, and one is 10.1.1.2. So we are not forming a neighbor relationship with router 4 for some reason. So let's take a look at what happens on the other routers. Show IP EIGRP neighbors, and we are talking to 1 and 3 from router 2. We're also not talking to router 4 for some reason. Let's see here. Show IP EIGRP neighbors. 1 and 2, no 4. Let's see what happens on 4. Show IP EIGRP neighbors. And he's got none. So, let's see if he has any EIGRP interfaces. So, for some reason, he has fast Ethernet 0/1, but I don't see fast Ethernet 0/0 under the EIGRP interfaces. So let's look at another command, show IP protocols. So give us a little more information. Interesting. Okay. Aha! I think we found it. This shows IP protocols is going to show what routing protocol you're using. Routing protocol is EIGRP, Autonomous System 1, and a bunch of other information we won't go into, but it shows routing for networks. Basically says what networks did you set up for this routing protocol. And it shows we did set it up for both of our interfaces. This little line right here shows us that that was set up as a passive interface on fast Ethernet 0/0. So again, I designed this scenario, but this could be a common mistake, because in a live enterprise network, you would want to set up a passive interface on this router. This router. You would want to set up 0/1 as a passive interface, because there's no other routers over here that you would want to form adjacency with. You would want it on over here so you could talk to your other neighbors, being other routers. Over here you would want it off. So let's go ahead and correct that and see what happens. Let's get into global config. Let's go into router EIGRP 1. Let's see, what was the command that we did for that? That would be no passive interface fast Ethernet 0/0. Let's see what happens. Oh, look at that. Got some neighbors. So now we've got 3 neighbors on there. And if we come over here and we do a show IP EIGRP neighbors, we should now have 3 neighbors. We're talking to everyone. Reminds me of Mr. Rogers. Neighbor. Let's do a show IP EIGRP neighbors. Hello. Show IP EIGRP neighbors. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another check. Being that these are all neighbors now, we should also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subnets in our routing table, right? So let's go ahead and see if we do. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what's going on here? This is router 1, so he sees the internal subnet here, And then he's seeing, of course, his directly connected LAN subnet. He is seeing router 2's LAN subnet. He's seeing router 4's LAN subnet. But he's not seeing router 3's LAN subnet. So, let's jump over to router 3 and see what's going on here. Okay, so it's definitely configured. Let's check something else. Okay, so that interface is configured. It's up, it's up. Okay, interesting. Let's do a show IP interface. Show IP EIGRP interfaces. Okay. So EIGRP is not enabled on Fast Ethernet 0/0. I'm sorry, on 0/1. What happened here? There we go. So let's do a show IP protocols. Hold on here. I think we found it. Do you see what I see? Routing protocol is turned on is EIGRP Autonomous System 1. That's correct. What networks are we routing for? That's correct. Looks like someone fat-fingered this subnet. So if we change that, we should then have that in our routing table on all other routers. Let's go ahead and try it. Let's get into global config, and we will do router, OSPF. What am I doing? OSPF, EIGRP, Autonomous System 1. Let's go ahead and negate the command no network 10.1.13.3 0/0 So now that should no longer be there. Let's go ahead and set up the correct subnet for EIGRP. Network 10.1.33.3 0.0.0.0. Enter. So let's hop back over to router 1 and see what we've got in our routing table now. As you can see, this is what we had a minute ago. Let's do a show IP route. And we're running smoothly now, folks. Show IP EIGRP neighbors. So not only do we have all 3 other routers as neighbors, but we also now have all 5 subnets in our routing table. So we're good. We can communicate with the whole damn network. And that, folks, is a basic EIGRP routing protocol troubleshooting video. Thanks for watching, and I plan on making a